Well, it's Friday, and what better way to end the week than in the company of Nigeria's veteran entertainer and political activist, the colourful, controversial, combative, unrestrained, bold, perhaps harmlessly dotty, but hugely famous Charly Boy, a public figure whose life has been nothing short of adventure and adrenaline. Over the years, Charly Boy's maverick spirit has drawn many people in, with his critics accusing him of disruptive behavior, while to his supporters, he's a celebrated protest singer and change advocate, known fondly as Area Fada. But in the last year or so, many of his achievements and pronouncements, both in music and in politics, and that boundless energy which he used to relentlessly attack officialdom, appear to have been overshadowed by a withering bout of sickness. So how serious is this, and how much has his celebrated public life been blighted by ill health? I'll be joined from our studios in Lagos by the inimitable Charly Boy. Also on the program, as Kim Jong-un makes a rare international visit aboard his armored train, are the leaders of Russia and North Korea about to forge a new alliance? If so, what are the implications for the West, and for that matter, Africa, where the Russian mercenary group Wagner has been making inroads in the last few months and years? Does it spell opportunity or danger? I'll be joined from London by the former British diplomat and former EU Managing Director for the Middle East and North Africa, Professor Nicholas Westcott, who until recently was the Director of the Royal African Society and is currently a Professor of Politics and International Studies at the School of African and Oriental Studies in London. Plus, we have our analyst who will give us his perspective on the news and issues of the day. I'm Charles Enyegolu, and this is Arise Primetime. Now, let's get lost in the kaleidoscope, firebrand world of Charly Boy, and what a controversial, colourful figure he is, with those flamboyant costumes and that rustle of satin and sequins that heralds his arrival at an event. He is, after all, known to be a great lover of publicity. But he's also an activist, campaigner, and a lifelong advocate for good governance, well known for his social media political orations, and many of his supporters speak enthusiastically about his fighting spirit, his unwavering courage, and his liberal instincts. But suddenly, in that prime, he began to suffer from serious illness. First, in the last year or so, he was struck down by a diagnosis of prostate cancer, and then came COVID. But he says he's managed to overcome both. So, having experienced immense difficulties and emerged through the flames at the other end, what is his frame of mind today? Has he lost some of the shine and sparkle and passion that he's come to be associated with? We'll hear from the self-styled president of frustrated Nigerians in a moment. But first, here's one of his more recent protest songs. This one's called Nigerian Matters. And that's just a little taste of some of the protest music of Charly Boy. And I'm suitably delighted to say that Nigeria's ultimate maverick entertainer and veteran political activist Charly Boy joins me now from our studios in Lagos. Charly Boy, it's so good to see you, and good to see you actually up and about, because I was very worried and concerned, but I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad to see you've got just that. What you just said now, it just tells me that you're back in shape. We will talk about your personal life and health and all that in a moment. Okay. But we're just looking at that video, Nigerian Matters, which I believe came out last year just before the elections.
Oh, come on, Charlie. Yeah.
Well, obviously, you know, I'd want to talk about that.
Actually, it's Nigerian matter.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's Nigerian matter, not Nigerian matters.
Yeah, but you have to...
Nigerian matter.
Yes, I concede that, but you've got to remember that we have an international audience, and you have a lot of fans outside Nigeria as well.
Okay.
So they want to be able to understand what you're doing.
They better start getting used to our lingo, Charles. Yes, they better start getting used to our lingo, Charles.
Okay.
Yeah? That's
Well, let's not dwell on that too much. That song came out last year. I mean, what was your frame of mind in putting it together?
Okay, Charles, you know, I'm a baby of the early 50s, and I think during the Nigerian Civil War, I was about 18, between 18 and 20 years old. So I was a matured youth. I knew what was going on. I knew what was happening in my environment. And I must say that that war scandalized my youth, okay? And I knew all the preambles that led to the Civil War, okay? And it seems to me that in the present time, since the past 3, 4, 5 years, the same things are playing out. The obnoxious bigotry, the religious nonsense that has been going on for a long time. After the Civil War, but before I go there, the war, we lost the war to hunger. We lost the war to poverty. That is people on the Biafran side. They lost the war to hunger and poverty, not because of the bullets. And guess what, Charles? After that Civil War, no matter what you had in your bank account, whether 2 billion or 100 billion, you were only given 20 pounds to start life afresh. And I started to see some of those dynamics playing out in the present. It was before our very eyes that somebody said, we will continue with the previous government's policy and we will continue from where they stopped. What does that mean? That we have seen Shege. We are going to see Shege Bansa. That's how I interpreted it. But nothing prepared me personally for what was about to happen on February 25th. But my conclusion was the fact that I've seen it's the same playbook. I've seen the same criminals, doing the same thing from the same old playbook. And then, of course, the bigotry, the tribalism was at its peak. It was horrific. There was no time before February 25th that I expected somebody from just a fresh new party that was just going to come from somewhere and win. I wasn't expecting that. And I did tell some of my few friends that I know that this thing is not going to go the way a lot of people think it was going to go. But I was not prepared for the kind of bloodletting that I saw, the kind of bigotry, the kind of tribalism. Even me, Charly boy, I was accused of of being a bigot, me, Charly boy.
Right.
Yeah. So I put all of that together and I felt that, no, it's the same thing, but I was not prepared for the height of such corruption, such bloodletting, such hatred. I've never seen that before.
Yes,
so
but obviously,
I had a feeling that it wasn't going to go.
Right. But as you said, I mean, that song actually came out before the elections. So clearly that's not what influenced the song.
The song was in January, actually.
Right, just before the elections.
It was in January. Yeah, so obviously, I see things. Yeah. I've been living ahead of my...
Right. So it was a sort of predictive song then, you know, predictive in the sense that it was going
Yes,
to, it
you
was
could
looking
say
at
that.
it, a
And,
sense of how things were going to turn out. So what do you think Nigeria is headed now, and how do you think the political issues that you talk about can be resolved?
Well, I'm happy that I see some rise in consciousness, especially amongst the young people. I've always said that the salvation of this country lies in the hands of its exceptional youth, okay? I could see that people are, you know, young people are now getting to the bottom of things. You know, they're not going to take whatever they see on social media. I know how they've been coming at, you know, all the enemies of the people. I know how they've been going at them. And for many young people, I believe that their mumu, their ignorance, their stupidity is enough, okay? I know that the young people, I mean, these are the genes generation. I mean, they have the numbers, they have the intellect, and you can't tell me that this evil people in power, you know, can outshine, overdo these young people. I believe so much in the Nigerian exceptional youths, because they are the one that is making us proud. They are the ones. I mean, you go to the United States. Do you know that Nigeria is ranked #1 among the immigrant communities in America? They do so well. Our people leave the shores of this country. They excel. They make us proud. But back home, we can't seem to get our acts together. But nothing lasts forever. And I know that this oppression cannot go on in perpetuity. It can't. It can't. And I know with the young people I've met, I've interacted with, I've learned from, something is about to snap. And it will be sooner than later.
Right. Well, let's move away from the political to the personal. I mean, you've had some challenging health issues in the last year or so. Can you tell us about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the past 4 years, I've been dealing with just prostate enlargement, okay? And each time, because, you know, this is the only house I live in, so I don't joke around with it. As far as I'm concerned, my health is my wealth. That's all I got, you know, and I need to take care of this body as much as I can, you know. So I've been going for checkup. I started to notice that there's been a change, you know, in how my body has been functioning. I started having problem with going to the bathroom, peeing. Sometimes I'll go to the bathroom, I'll be there for like 3 hours, 2 hours. I'm serious, Charles. And I'll just have little drops just coming out. And no sooner do I go back to sleep or back to bed, I want to go again. It was the fact that my bladder was always filled up. And I started to notice that I'm losing so much interest in sex. You know, it didn't matter to me, not because I was sexually active. I mean, I sold my wild oats, you know, when I was much, much younger. That's how come I have 10 children. Those are the ones in the register. Those are the ones I've accepted. So you can imagine the ones that I have not accepted. And I have 16 grandchildren. Come on, you know. So I've had my fill. So, but you see, the good thing about being open about whatever you're going through is that you might get it in the ear of somebody who can help you. And this is how in London, because when I went to have a checkup in London, some Nigerian I spoke to directed me to a doctor who is another Nigerian, but who is a leading surgeon in that department, the keyhole surgery, they call it, people having to, living with cancer, especially of the prostate. So in London, I was charged a lot of money, about £15,000 to do the same operation that I did right here in Nigeria. Because the doctor, when I met the doctor in London, he said, oh, I do come to Nigeria and I intend in helping my people there, because a lot of men are going through this problem. I'm sure you remember a video that I did. I was talking about the seasons in my life. When I say, oh, before I used to have, this long braids, I no longer have them. Before I used to be a biker, I started the biking club in Nigeria. Okay, I made that sport very popular. I thought that I'll be riding bikes till I'm 80, 90. Guess what? For the past 5 years, I've not been on a bike, and I stopped riding bike. I never thought it was possible. And then I said again in that video, I remember, I used to, like the the female physique, especially big behind and, reasonable front. But right now, I can't, the last thing on my mind is sex. And I can't even get my thing up. I know a lot of men called me to say, oh, that's not good, what you said. I said, well, I'm just sharing what I'm going through. And I think my openness about what I'm going through is helping a lot of men out there.
Right.
Because my people have a saying in my village.
Yeah, go on, finish your saying.
That when you hide your sickness, the sickness will hide you. People tend to think, a lot of men that I've spoken to would rather live with their prostate cancer than to think that the doctor, because a lot of people have that impression that after you have an operation, that you can never use your manhood again, that it will never work. And they rather die than not have their manhood work. And I think that is kind of silly.
Well, I have to say, listening to you, although in your classic style, a lot of your description was peppered with humor, but I'm listening to you, I'm very sorry for what you've been going through. But are you in the clear now as far as prostate cancer is concerned?
Yes, I'm in the clear. We had a successful operation that I had to go for Thanksgiving. Charles, can you imagine? Yes, I did my Thanksgiving right here in Lagos. And right now, well, it is as if my manhood has developed a mind of its own. It does what it wants whenever it wants, not when I want, or whenever it wants. So that's okay. But because I'm no longer sexually active as I used to be, for me, it's okay. I could live with that. Because I've always had this fantasy of going to the monastery, retiring in the monastery, and devoting my life to spiritual things. So maybe this is just the beginning. I don't know, Charles.
Well, I have to say that it all sounds rather extreme, but just given that you're still with us here in the secular world, what would be your advice with regard to things like prostate cancer?
Well, I think men should be more open about the problems they're going through, about the depression. There's a lot of depression in our society right now, and we all know why. Things are not like they should be. Men should be open. Men should confide in their fellow man, because you never know who had been through all of this and who can give you some encouraging words or tell you, listen, after that, my operation, my phone never stopped ringing because I was very open with what I was going through. So I had a lot of men calling me up, asking me questions, and I was able to help quite a lot out with the information I shared with them. So I think men should be very open. I know what is killing a lot of us men is our ego problem. It's so huge, it's so big, and having an erectile dysfunction is like being broke, So a lot of men are not down with that, and that is why they're so secretive when they're going through this problem. And my advice is, listen, a lot of us, once you pass the age 60, you're liable. I know that 1 out of every 4 men go through this. So the best thing is to have regular checkups at least once a year. If you can afford it, twice a year. Because I was being told that my PAS was normal. It was only 2.5. But guess what, Charles? Until that doctor came and we did a proper check on me, we found out that my bladder has, because any moment, if I had gone there a day or two later, that was it for me, because my bladder has been overtaken by the prostate and it was turning cancerous.
My goodness.
But thank God I'm here talking with you.
Well, I'm certainly very glad that you're here. I mean, it sounds absolutely horrendous. But, I mean, what impact, Charly boy, what impact is all this likely to have on the activist in you? Because, I mean, your legion of fans are used to seeing you out there in the trenches with them. Do these lingering health challenges mean you're going to be less active?
There's no battle that I have not fought and fought well and I have not conquered, Charles. My life has always been a battle. It has nothing to... My energy level is at an unbelievable stage right now, okay? I feel 30. But listen, I'm not a professional protester. I will not say that for the rest of my life, that's how I'll be going out and protesting, for different issues. No, this is time to take a back step. Because even while I was out on the street, Charles, I never, because anytime I talk with the boys and we plan what we're going to do, I've always escorted them to the scene. I've never been the one to say, hogging the whole program and saying, oh, it's me and these are my boys. I've never done that. I've always led from behind. I've always allowed the boys that I mentor, that I inspire, to take the lead. So it's the same thing. I'm here as a father, as an area father, to give advice, to point the direction. I can't be protesting till I'm 80. No, because we're talking about young people taking over. We're tired of this. I'm no longer a spring chicken, Charles. So if I'm talking about young people taking over, why should I always be leading something? They're younger people who could do way better than I did. And that is what I expect from them, because I've always maintained that the salvation of this country called Nigeria lies in the hands of its exceptional people. And who are those? The youths.
Well, I mean, beyond obviously the political and, as I said, the secular, I mean, there is the philosophical, and we're all sort of metaphysical creatures. What has this past year of ill health taught you about the precariousness of human existence?
All is vanity, all is vanity. But I'm so glad I learned one important lesson from my father, who taught me the art of contentment and a simple life, Charles. So I don't need much, as long as I'm healthy, as long as I'm doing the right thing, and I don't do things to dishonor this body. This is my temple, okay? I invest a lot in my health. As long as I'm healthy, as long as I have young people that inspire me, that ginger me, Charles, I'm good. I'm good. I still can do another 40, 50 years. Who knows? I have longevity in my lineage, you know. So I'm not going anywhere soon.
And on that hopeful, bucolic note, I want to say thank you very much indeed, Charly boy. And I'm so glad that you have recovered, and we look forward to many more years of you in the eye of the public, and of course you here on Arise News. Charly boy, the entertainer, talking to me there from our studios in Lagos.